Hi everyone, welcome back to the class. Today we'll be creating paper flips. We're going to use an example of a calendar. There's nothing for you guys to download it, so make sure you just open up the After Effects and let's get started. Alright, first thing first, we'll go with the 720p. So we'll go to the 1280 by 720. Make sure it's 4 pixel and 30 frames. Full duration, we'll just keep it as 5 seconds. We'll just call it paper flip. Create OK. Once you have the composition, let's go ahead and use the shape. I'll change that to white and stroke with somewhat like bluish color tone. We can always change that color anyway. I'll hold down shift and click and drag it. I'll just make something that's 1:1 ratio square. I think that's perfect. Okay. And with the T for the text tool, I'll just write down the number that we like to have it. I think that is just going to be a standard color for us to play around, which is going to be in this case just 1. If you want this to be both of them to be exactly at the center, then you can go ahead and align it this way, or you can even say composition, so they can stay at the center for the composition as well. Alright, I think this is looking pretty good. Once you're up until here, we need to make sure we need to create duplicate copies of this. So we'll go ahead and select both, right click, pre-compose, and we'll just call it C01. So 01 is there so that every time we duplicate it, it will increase the value by 1. So if we duplicate it, there will be CO2. Let's go inside the CO1. So that's what the CO1 is about. Let's go to the project window, click on CO1. If you're using Window, Control D. If you're using Mac, that's Command D. Duplicate it from here, double click to open up CO2. Double click on the text, we'll just simply type 2. And make sure you go back and forth between CO1 and CO2. Make sure number does not change into number 2 on both of the O1 and O2. They should have separate numbers. If it's sharing the same number, then you copied it wrong. Alright, let's go to the project window again. Control D or Command D, and then I'll go ahead and change those numbers, and I'll go ahead and do that for the rest of it as well. And that is what we have it. 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright, let's go to the paper flip and let's import 2 to 5 by holding down shift and bring it over here. So now we have all CO1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I think this is perfect. Okay, so on CO1, make sure your time indicator is in the beginning. Let's go to the effects and preset, and let's go CC page turn. Double click to apply it, and this will help us to put this on top. So let me just go ahead and turn off everything. Make sure that's the only thing that's over here. Page flip over here as well. And then that's how it's interacting with. Alright, so let's go ahead and keyframe the fold position. Let's bring this one at the bottom right hand corner. Go to 1 second and we'll bring it so that this flips like that. And now this is a great time for us to play around with some of the assets. Bag opacity, we just want to make sure it's 100%. And paper color is something that we can actually choose, but which is not really going to matter in this case. Right, light direction is something that we can also change it, but we don't have that. Fold radius is something that we could change it. As we go over here, we can increase or decrease the number, as you can see. If I come a little bit closer like that, you'll notice light direction here. Then we can actually change that as we go. I'll keep it something like this. I'll keep it as 120, so we have a bit of the shadow there, just to make it a bit more interesting. We're going to add the light sweeps anyway, so this doesn't really affect too much. But we just want to have a basic animation. Let's hit U on your keyboard. Make sure you are snapped or right on top of this keyframe. We want to make sure this paper is getting out of the frame. So we'll go to the CC page turn and make sure this circle brings out of the frame, and I think that is good. That's all we needed for now. Cool. Alright, I think that's actually looking pretty good. We'll just go ahead and just decrease as a neutral gray tone. Okay. We're gonna go to the CC page turn, copy this attribute, turn on all the other layer, shift select all those, and paste it over here. Hit U on your keyboard, you should have all those like that, but everything is now flipping at the same time, so we want to select all the keyframes. Offset it slightly like that, so they all move at the end of the previous one. So let's go ahead and do that, and this will result in flip like this. And one thing that we have to make sure is whether these are flipping it to the right direction. One thing that, again, that I noticed was page 1 flips, but when page 2 flips, it becomes 2. So we want to make sure, go to the CO2, back page, make sure that's set to 2. We want the same thing for 3 to be 3, 4 to be 4, 5 to be 5. So that will be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, that's looking good. If we happen to have a back page that we want to use it, let's say, I'll do that for the number 5 for the sake of the last page. We can just go here, layer, new, solid, it can be anything, and you know what, I'll say just dark blue one. It's too dark, let's bring it something like that, and I'll bring this one all the way down. I'll hide that. For the page 5, I can now select medium gray, and oh wow, that's what we have it. And this one, honestly, we can take this information here, region of interest, and then we can just paste it over here. But there might be a little bit of too much of the steps. So what we can even do is, here's a little bit of the trick using the region of interest. You don't have to do this step, it's an extra feature. If you do the region of interest here, composition, come to region of interest, and then if you go to the composition setting, this actually tells us 314 by 305. That's our region. So this one simply right click, pre-compose, move all, and this we can actually change it. Composition setting, unlock this one, 314, 305, and we'll have the exact the same region of interest, which will be like this at the end, which I need to hide it. There you go. Pretty interesting, right? And the number 5 is, where's the CC turn? This one is bugging out right now, so I need to pull this one down. There you go. But using the back page at the number 5, that's an extra one, so you don't really have to follow everything there. You don't have to put that extra solid color there. You can just go with just the number 5 at the end. Alright, and the background seems pretty empty, so let's go ahead and layer new, solid, and that will be for the background itself. I'll just keep it to the same color there and bring this all the way down. So now we have this. Cool. For the CO1, let's put a drop shadow. And let's bring the distance. And 120 seems pretty good. Okay. Cool. Let's keyframe this one at where this one ends. And 120 distance. Bring it over to the 0 second. I'll say 0. So in the start of the keyframe, there is no drop shadow. As this one moves, there will be a shadow over here. We want to move this. I'll hit you on your keyboard twice. We want to move this when this starts, so somewhere around there. So I think at 10 or 11 frames, that will work a little bit better. Okay, so I think that's actually really good. Cool. So I'll go ahead and click on drop shadow, copy that, shift select everything from CO2 to CO5, paste it, hit U twice, we'll bring up all the keyframes, and we'll just have to align it with the end of the keyframe. Select both, align it with the end of the keyframe, select both, align it with the end of the keyframe there, align it with the end of the keyframe, and align the end of the keyframe. And I'll basically select all the keyframes, right click on top of the keyframe assistant, and easy ease. Cool, that's it, spacebar to see how it looks. Nice, I think that looks pretty nice and neat. If you guys have up until here, you guys can go ahead and render this one out. And again, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach me out, and I'll see you guys in the next class.